Lesson 2 of Unit 4 addresses watershed analysis using Civil 3D. And essentially what you're doing here is you're working with surfaces to delineate watersheds and to visualize runoff paths. And these are the topics for exercises 1 and 2 of Lesson 2. A couple things to be aware of. First, the hydrologic cycle is the ongoing process of evaporation, precipitation, water infiltration, and runoff. So this is a well-documented cycle, and a watershed is an area that contributes surface water runoff to a particular point of interest. So what we do in exercise 1 is we first delineate the watersheds. We create a surface style to display the watersheds. You perform a watershed analysis by modifying the surface properties, and you can visualize these watersheds. So let's have a closer look. We have a surface here called existing ground, and if we look at the surface properties, well, there's the surface to start with, and we could modify the surface properties, and under the analysis tab we can run a watershed analysis, and you can specify a watershed parameter and make sure that you can specify a minimum average depth, and we'll just put in 2 units. And this is so that you don't get all these little mini watersheds. But if I click this down arrow, we now have all of the watershed areas delineated. And these are all boundary segments. And if we scroll through, you can see there's different categories of watersheds. And that's the analysis. Now, in order to display that, you need to use a surface style to display the watershed boundaries. So under Settings tab, if we go to Surface and Surface Styles, you can see we don't have one here. Let's right-click on Surface Styles and create a new one. And let's, under the Information tab, call this Watershed Analysis. And under the Display tab, we'll turn off everything except for watersheds. And then if you click the Watersheds tab, you can see all of the parameters that are used to control the display of the watershed. So the boundary points, the boundary segments, and so these are essentially all the colors. And if I click OK, we now have that style called Watershed Analysis. Now we can assign that surface style to the surface. So let's grep the surface, modify the surface properties, and under the Information tab we can assign the style called Watershed Analysis. And that will then display and delineate the different watersheds in the drawing area. So you can create a table to show the data. And then the second exercise, you visualize runoff paths, and this is essentially, using a style to show you the direction of slopes, but also using the water drop feature to show you the direction of flow. So let's have a quick look at that. We'll just grep the surface, go back to surface properties, and assign the contour style. And if you were to grep the surface and click water drop on the contextual ribbon here, we can create a 2D polyline, and essentially wherever you pick a location, you can see it calculates the direction of flow. So it's very easy to see that the direction of flow on this site is running from the south west to the northeast. And that concludes the discussion on watershed analysis, which is in Lesson 2 in Unit 4 of Environmental Design for the AutoCAD Civil 3D 2010 education curriculum.